guys, it's Olive, and today I would like to tell you about what I read in June and July of 2015. The end of June, early July turned out to be really busy for me. That's why you did not see a June wrap-up and July TBR. But I did do quite a bit of reading in both of those months, so I'd like to give you a little overview of what I read. The first book I finished in June was an audiobook, and that was Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This was my first experience reading/listening to a Jane Austen book, and I really enjoyed it. It was really melodramatic. I personally liked the character of Eleanor more than I liked Marianne because I am a much more logical person versus emotional. So I feel like I identified more with Eleanor, but I really liked the book overall. I did not like it as much as I liked Jane Eyre, as much as I hoped I would. But I am planning on reading Pride and Prejudice next year, which I know is most people's favorite and it's the most well-known. So I'm really looking forward to that. I liked it enough that I definitely want to go through Jane Austen's catalog and read all of her novels. Then I read Egg and Spoon by Gregory Maguire. This is a young adult, middle grade novel, pretty long for one of those. It's like 475 pages, I think, set in Tsarist Russia. This book follows a young girl living in a Russian village. Her name is Elena, and a train passes through her village, which does not happen very frequently, and on board is a very aristocratic young girl named Katerina, and they develop a little bit of a friendship, acquaintanceship, is that a word? Something happens, and then Elena finds herself on a trip to St. Petersburg to meet the Tsar. It was a very magical book. It was also very humorous. I was laughing out loud at more than one part of it. By the end though, it got kind of weird. It just took a turn and then everything started to change. So overall I liked it, but the ending kind of just threw me off. Then I listened to The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Again, I was very embarrassed that I had not read this one before. It was heartbreaking, but really enlightening. I think it's so important for everyone to read this book, especially the last few pages where Anne is older and it's right before they are discovered, and she's just doing a lot of introspection, and she wants so much to be a better person. She wants to be well loved and respected by her family. She just wants to be better. I think that's something we all should be aiming for. I think we can all learn a lot from her. Then I read The Buried Pyramids by Jane Linskold, which was part of the Buried Pyramid read-along hosted by Katie from Effusions of Wit. A lot of people had problems with this book. I had some problems with this book specifically when it came to the pacing, which I think was a pretty common problem from everyone who participated in this read-along. A lot of people who were in the read-along had a problem with the way that the English characters were treating the Egyptian characters. I think they saw a lot of racism there. I do think it's important to remember the time period in which this book is set. I think when you're dealing with historical fiction, you have to assume that some of the racism of the past is going to seep in. I think it's really actually important to highlight that because a lot of people think that racism has disappeared because it's no longer like that, but I think it's just really important to know that the way things were and the way things are now and how equally horrible they are. Racism in any form is horrible. I personally don't have a problem confronting that. I actually thought that in this book it could have been a lot worse. I actually saw a lot of occasions where the Egyptian characters were laughing at the English characters about how stupid and ignorant they were. My problem with this book is that you spent like 3/4 of the book working up to the point where they're doing what they came to Egypt to do. Then at the very end, there's some stuff thrown in that was never a part of the book before. I really don't like when you go through the entire book and then right up at the end, it's like, we changed our mind, we want to be a different kind of book now. I think this book got a lot of hate. Overall, I found it really entertaining. I had a little bit of like a fictional character crush on Stephen because he was just so outrageous and funny and nerdy, which is so my type. Speaking of books where at the very end they decide they want to be something else, I listened to Mermaids in Paradise by Lydia Millett. This was a really entertaining book, but it was really bonkers. It centers on a couple who are on their honeymoon and they go to an island. On this island, they run into a marine biologist who tells them that while scuba diving one morning, she has discovered real-life mermaids. When the hotel/resort that they're staying at finds out that there are these mermaids, The corporate executives decide to swoop on in and try to claim these mermaids for themselves and try to create a little tourist attraction out of it. And the people who originally found the mermaids are working against that. So that's the main point of contention in the story. It was weird. It was a really weird experience. I don't know. I don't know how I ended up feeling about this book. I gave it 3 stars because I just really didn't know what to do with myself. I thought time would provide some clarity. It hasn't. It hasn't at all. Something I do know how I feel about, however, is all the volumes of Chew that I read in June. I read volumes 3 through 8. I gave them all 5 stars. This series keeps getting better. Pollo is a badass. I don't know why, if you haven't started reading this yet, you're not. It is so much fun. I've been trying to get my hands on volume 9 from the library, which is in high demand because as of right now, in early August, that's the latest issue, but volume number 10 comes out soon. So I have at least 2 volumes in August that I can read, and I am really excited. Then in July, I started off the month with a Kindle short called FritoLay by Miranda Beverly Whitmore. This is the same author who wrote Bittersweet, which is a book I really, really liked last summer, and I recommended in my summary book recommendations video. I've been anxiously awaiting the release of a new book from her, and instead I found out she released this Kindle short, so I picked that up off of Amazon, and I read it in one short sitting. Of course, it was very short. The story focuses on 3 girls, 2 sisters, and then a friend of the younger sister. The older girl is in her teenage years, high school years, and the younger girl is, I think, in elementary school or middle school. Their parents teach at a local college, and the mother of the 2 sisters takes the 3 of them to the pool, and they end up watching a little boy of another woman who's there, and then some things happen. And it was interesting, and there were secrets. I'm coming to really love that about Miranda Beverly Whitmore. In Bittersweet and this Kindle short, there were tons of secrets, and I love reading about secrets. Then I read Starlight Symphonies of Oak and Glass by Alexandria Nolan. This book is very magical. It takes place on a boat that is having a hard time in its just everyday journey from Detroit to Mackinac Island in Michigan. Only a few characters know why the boat is stranded. This is a multiple point of view book, which I really liked. I think the flow in between characters was really well done. I really enjoyed reading this. I loved the magical elements and the nautical elements and the relationships between the characters and the secret roots of some of the problems that you discover. It is a self-published book. I know not a lot of people have read this, but I would highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. I found it highly enjoyable. Then I read Murder at the Brightwell by Ashley Weaver. I loved this book so much. It was so much fun. It was so perfect for summer. It was everything that I was looking for out of a summer read. This book's main character is Amory Ames. She is unhappily married to a man named Milo. He's a little bit of a playboy. Their marriage once was really great, and now it's 5 years later, and neither one of them are particularly thrilled with it. Into this unhappy situation enters Gil Trent, Amory's ex-fiancé, the man she left in order to marry Milo. He lets her know that his sister is about to make a huge mistake and is about to marry a playboy, not unlike Milo, and he desperately, desperately wants to prevent his sister from entering the kind of unhappiness that Amory has found herself in. They devise a little plan where Amory is going to accompany him to a trip to the Brightwell Hotel. Amory is going to pose as though she's left Milo in order to try to talk some sense into Gil's sister. This is complicated, however, when someone in their group staying at the Brightwell, which includes several different friends and some mysterious figures, ends up dead. I loved the characters, I loved the story. This is now a series. I have the second one on pre-order. I cannot praise it enough. If you like cozy mysteries, if you like sassy women, if you just love books that will make you feel like you are sitting on a beach, read this one. And then July was a really good month for me because right after I read Murder at the Brightwell, I read Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which I adored. It's probably going to be my favorite book of the year, if not my new current favorite book, period. I will leave a link down below to my full review of this book, which includes a lot of gushing. You've been warned. So those were the books that I read in June and July. I'm very happy with how June and July went. I read some okay books, but a lot of really great books. I am similarly confident about how good my reading month in August is going to turn out, because right now we're in the booktubeathon, so I'm hoping to have a lot of good progress with that. I'm going to save the rest of my August TBR for my booktubeathon wrap-up, because I want to see where I'm at after I finish those books and see what I'm in the mood to read for the rest of August. Please let me know if you've read any of the books I've discussed in this video. You can leave a comment down below. You can also find me on both Twitter and Instagram @abookolive. And as always, the link to my Goodreads is down below if you'd like to be friends. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.